Hey everybody, welcome back to another live stream. Happy 4th. Those of you that celebrate the 4th here in the United States, hope you're having a great day with your family or whatever it is you may be doing. A lot of people like to cook out on the 4th and have barbecues, get-togethers, and family functions. I get that. We're going to have a little get-together here soon and make a good meal. So whatever you're doing today, enjoy. Once again, happy 4th. As you see by the banner and the title that we're starting the video off with, there's a lot of talk going around right now about the possibility of another mega quake over in Japan. Article over here at thedailymail.com, and there's several that I could have chose from. I just chose this one right here to start off the live stream. New mega quake fears as Japan struggles to prepare for what could be yet another disaster. I remember hey everybody in the chat, good to see you guys. Thanks for stopping by. If you have questions, send the questions via a super chat, and that way I won't miss it. The colors stand out really good. Do you guys remember back in March of 2011, March 11th of 2011? I remember it like it was yesterday because we talked about how time is going by fast again. And it is. It's already Friday again. Hello. Yeah, so what was, oh, I'm sorry, my phone beeping again. Are you guys still getting the robocalls? Yeah, me too. 2 or 3 a day. But back in 2011, March 11th of 2011 to be exact, here's a still image. I remember watching this tsunami in absolute disbelief. Hold on just a second here. There we go. Okay, here's an image. I've got to take this thing all the way around the room. Good grief. That's what it looked like following the it was either 9.0, 9.1. Depends on where you got your specific information regarding one of the largest earthquakes ever recorded. Sent a tsunami wave all throughout the Pacific Ocean. But there's other locations that are very similar to Japan. And there are other locations. I want to talk about the swarm that's ongoing right now over in Japan as well. Captain Kirk, USS Enterprise. Thank you, sir. There's 2 other swarms that are coincidentally 5,000 miles apart from each other. And get this, 2 of the swarms that are currently ongoing that people aren't talking about that could potentially do the same thing that they're talking about over here in Japan, they're 5,000 miles apart. Approximately, within a couple hundred miles. I'll show you guys on Google Earth 3 separate areas where there could be more of the same type of activity. I want to go back to the Japan incident. These are some cracks that are showing up over in Japan. Here's the tsunami. I remember watching the tsunami unfold, and it was as if, and I'm sure you guys remember it too, it was as if the water was coming in. Once the initial tsunami kind of started making its way inland, it was as if it was moving in slow motion. Do you guys remember that? Remember the ships? You can see a couple of fishing vessels here. I remember those cars coming up over the seawall. Wow, it's not something that we like to see, but it was, I'm watching it in real time with some of the cameras over there. It was truly an unbelievable sight. They're saying that this could happen again. They're warning the citizens of Japan to prepare for another possible event, similar or quite possibly even greater than what they saw back in 2011. Are you serious right now? I want to read you some of the information that came from this article, and then I want to show you guys 2 other locations that are very similar, and they're very active right now. In fact, one of the locations, I would consider it hyperactive, and it's been that way for a couple of years. And it could create, yes, a megaquake. Absolutely it could. Okay, new megaquake. They're saying there's an 80% chance of this happening soon. Article published July 2nd of 2025. This is hot off the press. This article was written less than 48 hours ago, basically. The Japanese government said there's much more that needs to be done to prepare for a possible megaquake to reduce the possible casualties that come along with these unfortunate disasters, and that's part of the mechanics of this place that we call home. Unfortunately, there's a lot of activity like that: volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, tsunamis, big storms. Speaking of big storms, I've got an update that I'll share with you guys here in just a few minutes. They go on to say quakes are extremely hard to predict, and they are. And that's the thing about earthquakes. There's a lot of folks, not a lot, but there's a few that try to predict earthquakes, and some people are halfway decent. If you do anything long enough, you're going to get halfway decent at it. I don't care what it is. And some of it's a little bit of luck, but predicting earthquakes is possible, I suppose. But where? That's the question. And that's the most important question. Where's the earthquake going to be? If you ever get that science down, then you're batting 1,000. But until then, you're batting below 100%, 50%. It's just not good information if you don't know where it's going to be. That's like they're saying here, quakes are extremely hard to predict, but in January, a government panel marginally increased the probability of a major jolt in the Nankai trough just off of Japan. I'll show you guys where that's at. In the next 30 years or sooner. And that trough is right here. It is that big trough. And that looks familiar, right? Let me show you where there's another trough. This is the trough that they're talking about. Right now, not far from here, just south and to the west, let me show you what's happening. There's a lot of action going on over there right now. There's a swarm, an ongoing swarm, and there's been a lot of earthquake activity, moderate to small. And when I'm talking small, I'm talking very, very small, below 1, all the way up to, as you can see here on this map here, the map's showing between 4s and 5s. Hey, hello, Zelda. 5150 miles, exact axial seamount, offshore Oregon. There's another place that could see a megaquake. You are correct. Thank you for the super chat. Here's what's going on south of the specific area that they're talking about. There's been an ongoing swarm for a while, but it's not the only game in town. Not by a long shot, okay? But yes, there has been activity over here. And yes, it could potentially lead to a big deal. But again, this is happening in other places around the world. Yes, there's a possibility of a situation occurring off the coast of Oregon. But I will say the Japanese are very intelligent people, in case you guys didn't know. The average person in Japan is a low-level genius. And some people are even, high-level geniuses. Japan's very known for their education, and they're just very smart people. The government released a new estimate in March saying that such a megaquake and subsequent tsunami could lead to many casualties and cause a couple of trillion in damage, if not more. But the government said so far the steps that they've taken would only cut the toll by 20%, the Kyoto News Agency reported, and an updated preparedness plan which was issued on Tuesday. And I think that's very cool, and it's very smart. And again, it just shows that these are smart people. They're taking necessary preparations just in case. It's better to prepare and need it, or it's better to prepare and not need it than to not prepare and need it. So it goes on to say that Nankai Trough is a 500-mile undersea gully running parallel to Japan's Pacific coast, where one tectonic plate is subducting slowly. And again, that is right here. And that looks very familiar. That is a very deep part of the earth. The water there is super deep, and you can tell there's subduction activity going on there. The same type of activity goes on right down the road, hypothetically speaking, as the crow flies down there in Guam. There's a big trench down through here. There's trenches all over here in the Western Pacific. Big trench out here. I think that's one of the deepest. Can you imagine? I don't know that I could live on Guam. And I'll tell you why. Just knowing that big deep trench there, and I think that is 30,000 feet deep. Just knowing that was 30,000 feet deep, and I'm sitting there on this little bitty island, Wow, I don't know. I wouldn't feel real secure out there, but nevertheless, there's another location that looks very similar to what's happening up here in Japan. But I want to show you guys something that is not being talked about, and we're really not being told, but it's something that I've been following for a long time. Since the activity in 2018 out here along the southern edge of Hawaii's Big Island, there was an eruption of Kilauea, Mount Kilauea, back in 2018. Well, there was a thing that they were talking about, and they were warning citizens. Holy cow, Laughing Taffy! Thank you for the wow. That's an action figure. Thank you, Laffy Taffy. I really appreciate the super chat. There was a thing, and happy birthday, Laughing Taffy! Everybody wish Laughing Taffy, happy birthday. I'm going to do that right now before I forget. But there was a thing called the Helena slump. Do you guys remember the Helena slump that they were talking about with regard to the Hawaii earthquake? Well, there was a series of earthquakes. There were thousands of earthquakes right here. There was a thing they were talking about called the Helena slump. Okay? And they were saying that if this chunk of the Big Island broke off and went into the sea, that it could create a tsunami. And they were watching it very, very close, and it was right over here in this area, right here along the southwestern edge of the Big Island of Hawaii. Well, luckily, it didn't happen. They were talking about the possibility of that happening on the island of La Palma. Remember that? They said that there was a chunk of the island that if it did break off and fall into the sea, that it could potentially create a tsunami. Well, there's situations and scenarios, possible scenarios like this all around the world. These are just a few that I want to talk about. This one here, the Helena slump, once again, never did happen. But if you look at the earthquake scenario over here in Hawaii, in the Big Island of Hawaii, check it out right there. There's an ongoing swarm. And these are earthquakes that are, what, just a week old. We could go back even farther. This has been going on since 2018. At one time, this map was full of earthquakes. I mean, so many you barely could count them. It's still going on. This has been going on for 7 years, and there could be another. There is an eruption right now. Kilauea is very, very active. It's erupting right now, off and on in spurts. But I want to show you something else that's not being talked about. And we're going to go from Japan and the ongoing swarm and the possible megathrust zone is right in here. And it's at the 32 degree, 32 degree north latitude, okay? We come across the pond over here to Hawaii, and the ongoing swarm and the volcano eruption that's occurring right now is at the 19.3 degree north latitude. Follow me, here we go. I'm going to take you guys over here into the South Caribbean, and we're going to go to, check this out, check out how weird this is. Southeast or southwestern Puerto Rico sits at, well, I want to go to where the swarm is at, which is right here. Right in this area here. It's at the 19.3 degree north latitude, and look what's going on here. You could draw a straight line from this location right here, where there's been hundreds, probably thousands of earthquakes in the last 5 years. And I'm just going back 5 years. It goes back a little farther, but I noticed this area here, there was an uptick in earthquakes, and notice the big trough here. There's a giant trough there as well that goes down, I don't know how many miles. It's almost intimidating to look at these big troughs and how deep they are. There's one off the southern coast of South America, and that's known for large earthquake activity. Some of the largest earthquakes in the history of the world have occurred right here, up in Alaska, and of course over in Japan. But I want to take you guys up here to this trench area, and there's a very deep trench there. I think it's called the, very simply, what, the Puerto Rico, no, what is it called? Well, I don't have it on here right now, but that trench right there is 23,000 feet deep in some places. But right here's the swarm activity region, and it's also at the 19.3. Go back to Hawaii. What's the latitude? And what are the odds, by the way, of a swarm occurring at the same exact latitude, 19.3. And you can draw a straight line, almost a straight line. In fact, let's just try it and see. So there could be a large-scale event at either one of these locations. Right here, there's been earthquakes going on for years. We've been following these earthquakes for years. Come across here to Hawaii, swarm going on right now, and an eruption. And then up here into Japan, where there's an ongoing swarm as well. There's the line. And let's go in miles. There we go. And there's your line of earthquake activity. It's not straight across, that goes up above the pole, but you get the idea. The line goes across there. And each location, if you were to measure from point A, B, and C, let's just say Puerto Rico is point A. And let's go from Puerto Rico to Hawaii. Just show you guys how weird this is. Watch. 5,700 miles. I think, did I get that right? Or was I measuring the right one? I think I did. Let me double check. Yeah, I think I did. Okay, here we go. One more time. Where are the swarms at? It's over here on the west side, southwest side, and northeast side of Puerto Rico. It's been going on for a while. But there's been no like really big earthquakes. I think there was a 5, maybe a 5.1, but they're steady. 5,700 miles. See it? Right there. 5,700 miles, straight across. Same exact latitude, by the way, from Puerto Rico to the Big Island of Hawaii. Ongoing swarms. Going from the Big Island over to Hawaii. Check this out. See how weird this is? Watch. Here we go. And from there to there, where the swarms at. Let's go to where the swarms at. 4,700 miles. 4,737. So just under 5,000. The other locations are just over 5,000. So kind of a coincidence, even though I don't believe in coincidences, but it is what it is. They're both, all three of those regions are about 5,000 miles apart. They're all swarming, and they could all produce a megaquake at any time, to be honest with you, and they could each form or trigger a tsunami. Absolutely they could. Looking at some of the largest earthquakes ever recorded, where are we at? The largest ones in order. This is a list of the biggest earthquakes since record keeping began. May 2nd, or May 22nd of 1960, we saw the 9.4, 9.6 Valdivia earthquake down in Chile. Hey, Sina, thank you for the super chat. Dutch sense is very quick. Yeah. Yeah, that's what he says. He says he's harassed, but I doubt very seriously that he is. He's not a threat to the USGS. But the thing of it is, you have to be able to know where these things you're coming from, okay, or where they're going to be. That's the thing. Yeah, you can predict them, sure. You can probably get within a 72-hour window. Honestly, I've done it based off of planetary position, but I just didn't know where, that's the thing. May 22nd of 1960 at 9.4, 9.6. Alaska, one of the biggest earthquakes, and if I'm not mistaken, a huge tsunami following the large earthquake in March. And if you'll notice, a common denominator in this list here is March. March produces big earthquakes, some of the biggest earthquakes we've ever seen on the earth. March 27th of 1964, the Alaska earthquake produced a 9.2 to 9.3 magnitude earthquake and a massive tsunami. The third largest, the event, and most of you remember this, the Indian Ocean, Indonesia earthquake, December 26th of 2004, 9.2 to 9.3. Massive earthquake that sent a tsunami all across the Indian Ocean. The one we're talking about today, Japan, March 11th of 2011, Pacific Ocean. That earthquake produced so many aftershocks that they wouldn't even fit on the map, number one. They counted them. There were tens of thousands of aftershocks following the initial 9 point. I think ended up being a 9.1, 9.0. It was big. It was a very big earthquake. But the aftershocks, there was a 7 point, if I'm not mistaken, a 7.4 aftershock, 7.2. And it was looked at as like it was a small quake, and that's a big earthquake, a 7.2. But compared to a 9.2, 9.0, it was kind of ignored, following something that big. Number 5, November 4th, 1952. Russia, the Soviet Union, saw a 9.0. January 31st of 1906, Ecuador, Colombia, an 8.8. These are the biggest ones that we know of. Now, pre-record keeping, there were probably much bigger ones. I mean, common sense would tell us that there probably was, but these are the ones that we are aware of. February 27th, again, February and March, one of the common denominators you'll notice over here, those months are on this list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 11 times. Or I'm sorry, 7 out of 12 times, March and February. So those months are known for big earthquakes. And you don't really see July on here too much. In fact, July is not even on this list. You don't see June. You don't see, and this is just something I just noticed right now, you don't see May. You don't see, there's August. But you don't see May, June, July. And I wonder why. It's not a coincidence. February 3rd, 1965, an 8.7, Alaska. August 15th, 1950, in China, Tibet, an 8.6, 8.7. April 1st, 1946, Alaska's Aleutian Islands, known for big earthquake activity. And up in the Aleutians, if you guys have ever noticed, there's an ongoing, perpetual swarm of earthquakes up in the Aleutians that's been like that since I've been following earthquakes for, good Lord, 16 years now. They're just nonstop. In fact, we can come over here to the map and look real quick. There's the situation down here in the near the island of Puerto Rico, and the swarm down here is growing, by the way. This swarm started off on the southwestern right there. This is where the swarm started about 5 years ago. This very specific area right here. And you can see it's now covering a much wider area. Something's up right there. And it's been like that for a while. Going up to the Aleutians, this is just a plethora of earthquakes. Been like that for years. Years and years and years. Of course, there's a lot of volcanic activity up there too, right? There's a lot of volcanoes. That's a chain of volcanoes in the Aleutians, but earthquake activity up there, small, not necessarily always big, but it's non-stop. Okay, moving on to number 9, April 1st, 1946, the Aleutians, Alaska, 8.6. Another one, March 28th of 2005. There's actually 3 in the number 9 range because they're the same strength. March 28th, 2005, Sumatra, Indonesia. Sumatra is known for the big earthquakes. Indonesia, 8.6. Also a lot of volcanoes down there. That ring of fire is obviously well known for large earthquakes. April 11th. March, April, and February, those months seem to be the hot months. Sumatra, once again, another 8.6. November 10th, 1922, Atacama, Chile. I did a study on the Atacama Desert one time. Wow, that was quite the study. Okay, that was an 8.5, 8.6 back in 1922, 103 years ago. Thank you, Graham, for the super chat. Is there a connection between Japan, Hawaii, Camp Flegrei, New Zealand, Cascadia, the voids discovered deep in the mantle? Yes, there is, Graham. Good question. Thank you for the super chat. We'll talk more about that here in just a moment. But there's definitely a connection. Everything's connected. February 1st, 1938, Banda Sea, East Indies, 8.5 to 8.6. Number 11, October 13th, 1963, the Kuril Islands, 8.5. That's north of Japan. And then, where else are we at here? Happy 4th, everybody. March 2nd, 1933, Japan, 8.5. Senriku earthquake. So there's been some big ones over in Japan. But you can see the areas that are repetitious, the Aleutian Islands, where there's ongoing swarms. There's always been a lot of earthquake activity up in Hawaii. Or not Hawaii, well, Hawaii and Alaska as well. Here's one that goes back to July 8th of 1730. These were pre-instrumental earthquakes before we got the seismographs all around the world like we do today. There's a seismograph pretty much anywhere you go these days. Okay, 1730, good grief. This was almost, what, 250, 300 years ago. Chile, Spanish Empire, a 9.1, and this is an estimate, 9.1 to 9.3. The Valparaiso earthquake, October 17th of 1737. Kamchatka Peninsula, this would be Russia once again, 1737, 9.0 to 9.3. Oh, wow, this one goes way back. I didn't know this one went back to 1575. Valdivia, Chile, Spanish Empire, 9.0. Again, that's an estimate. Just looking at some of these other ones. 1420, August 31st. Atacama, Chile, 8.8 to 9.4. So as you can see, there have been, these are estimates, again, pre-instruments, pre-universities, pre-scientific, instrumentation that we can use to measure tsunamis and earthquakes, seismographs. Strongest earthquakes by magnitude, there's 1907, 8.2 in the East Indies. That's a long list right there. And I can remember myself, just since following the earthquakes, I remember the 8s in Indonesia, obviously the big one in Japan. Don't remember the one up in Alaska. I wasn't even born for that one. But there could be more, guys, because the situation around the world, it's been steadily increasing. Honestly, it has. I'm not trying to, sound any alarm bells, because that's not what we're doing. We're just sharing information. But the situation in Puerto Rico, Hawaii, and now the newer swarm, this swarm has been going on for a little bit, but compared to the Puerto Rico swarm and the Hawaii swarm, this one is fairly new. So there is definitely movement going on over here, and they're saying that it could produce a megaquake. I believe it. We've seen one in that area before, and we'll probably see some more before it's all said and done. So just something to keep an eye on, because tsunamis, like the last earthquake that happened over there, it sent a tsunami, remember, all through the Pacific Ocean. And there was an eruption down in, where was it, near the Solomon Islands about 3 years ago. It was an underwater volcanic eruption, a very powerful one, that created a tsunami that went all the way up above the equator. And I have some friends over here in Southern California. They have a boat docked in, near Long Beach, in that area. And the tsunami wave from that eruption, that underwater eruption, thousands of miles away, caused the water in the marina to raise all of the boats up about 2.5 feet. It was an unexpected, high tide. They knew it was coming. It was part of the tsunami. And it damaged the boats with regard to, the boats were tied up in the marina. And it stretched the chains, the ropes, and the hardware that the chains and ropes were connected to on these boats, in some cases, broke off from an event that occurred thousands of miles away. Pretty incredible. Pretty incredible indeed. So we could see, there's the banner, we could see a megaquake according to the Japanese government sometime in the near future. Here's today's feature photo over at the homepage of the website, guys. Brandon Wells, I believe Brandon's out of Oklahoma. That is one ominous looking sky. Storm's been rolling through the Central Plains. I would normally put that photo right here, and some of you are probably asking, why are you using the same photo the last 3 or 4 days? It's because of an issue with the server. I'm just being totally honest with you. Those of you that have been trying to send email, we've had a little glitch with the server, and the server hosts the website you see right here, and also the email, the reports at MrMBB333.com. So right at this present time, I can't log on for whatever reason. I don't know what's going on. There's some sort of technical difficulty to change the picture. Everything else is current except for the picture, so it's not necessarily a big deal, and they're working on it right now. The email, I believe, is fixed for the time being, so those of you that are trying to send email, it should be back up and running. A couple things I want to look at since we're over here at the homepage of the website. Here's a look at the GOES X-ray flux. In fact, we'll take it back 3 days, or 3 days and then 7 days. Look at that. Steady as she goes. Very, very quiet. No solar activity to speak of for the last 7 days. There was a CME that came off the eastern limb of the sun, but was not Earth directed. Here's a look at the planetary K index. The last, that's 3 days. Can we go back 7 here? I think we can, but you can see the last 3 days. No geomagnetic storm activity. However, the Schumann resonance, looking at it, totally different story. We're seeing spiking right now, or at least in the last couple of hours. You can see the spikes right there. Let me get my little handy dandy zoomer right there. There's the spikes. So all the red represents spikes of over 40 hertz in the Schumann. That's the frequency of the Earth. Normally it's at, 7.8, 7.6, somewhere around that range. And those are up above 40. Looking at the Yellowstone supervolcano caldera, we've been following this with great curiosity. This seismograph up here along the northern edge. Are you serious? Looking about as wonky today as it did yesterday. Super weird. And so is this one here, Horse Butte. Got some sort of diagonal patterns. I don't know if that's a digital artifact. Got something to do with maybe the seismograph malfunctioning. That's weird. It's been like that also for a few days. And this is a bit of unusual activity. The dark blue you see over here on these seismographs represents magma intrusion. So when you see dark blue, it's like a long line of dark blue. That's movement at the supervolcano caldera in the magma chamber. So some of these seismographs are showing no data. That's obviously a glitch right there. There's at least 4, no data. But there's been activity at the Yellowstone supervolcano caldera now for quite a while, especially up there along the northwestern quadrant. Looking at the power outage situation, still got 22,000 in New York without power, 12,000 in Massachusetts, 16,000 in New Jersey without power following the strong storms. Texas looking at 10,000, and there's a flooding event going on in Texas. I believe it's the Guadalupe River flooding, big time flooding right now in Texas. And I know they're dealing with that situation. A lot of people have been displaced from what I'm hearing, from all the flooding going on. There's been some pockets of heavy rain and severe weather moved through Texas here recently, and some other locations as well, as you can see by the homepage of the website. This photo's, it's still fairly new. It's less than a week old. Sent in by SS out of Kansas City, Missouri. Real low-hanging shelf cloud moving across the Kansas City area. So ominous skies here recently. Swarms all over. Like I showed you guys, there could be other events like we're seeing over here in Japan. This is a big crack over in Japan, one of the smaller islands. Look at that. You don't see that very often, huh? Here's a sinkhole. Japan. Now that is a big sinkhole. Look at how close it is to these buildings here. Both sides. It took the whole street. Took 5 lanes of traffic and just devoured it. It's gone. 5 lanes. Unbelievable. There's 2 more cracks over in Japan. So there is definitely movement going on. Absolutely. Goes along with the territory, though. They are known for earthquakes. They've always been known for big earthquakes, and that will probably never change. It's just how the Earth is engineered. It's just how it works. Always been like that. What else have I got to share with you guys? The mega quake. Oh, had a question. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, send them through the super chat. Happy birthday, Laughing Taffy. Good for you. Birthday on the 4th of July. Yellowstone might correct itself. Thank you, Tony. It could. Yes. Yes, indeed. There was a question earlier, a young man asked, a gram about everything being connected. I think they are. Everything is connected. I believe that. And if one goes, could they all go? Probably not. Probably not. But I found it very curious how these were all in a straight line pretty much spanning from the Atlantic all the way across the Pacific. and there were swarms in each of those areas that were about 5,000 miles apart each, respectively. So I found that super interesting. We'll have to keep an eye on it, which I do every day. I check out the earthquakes. It's one of my many pit stops that I frequent every day. The earthquakes, the seismographs, the buoys. I'll share the buoys the next time we come on. And the only thing about the buoys is the buoys, for some reason, the information, you only get about 50% of the information. Half the global buoys, for whatever reason, are offline. I don't know why. So I still go there maybe once a week, but the information is very sporadic, you know what I mean? And then you'll see one kind of in event mode, which is telling, again, it's telling a story, like the flashing lights and the swarms. These swarms right here that we're seeing over in Japan, they're telling us a story, right? Just like anything else. And I know people like, oh, the flashing lights are just bulbs. No, they are not. They're telling us a story of something much, much bigger, a much bigger picture, just like this swarm right here. It's not just a swarm. These people over in Japan that, again, are very intelligent people, they know that there's the very likely probability that a megaquake's coming, quake is coming very soon, and they're seeing the swarm activity south of the Maine island down here, and they know what's going on, and they're fully aware that another one could happen. The last big one, obviously, was in 2011, so that was 14 years ago. So it's probably due for another one. We'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully it won't be, you know, like the last one, but they're trying to prepare for it as if it could be equally as strong or worse. So like I said earlier, it's better to prepare and not need it. What else do I have for you guys today? I honestly think I had a flash update, but we'll do that in the next video. I want to share this with you guys. We'll take a quick look at this today. This is something weird. It's not on the earthquake subject, but that's okay. I want your guys' help on what is this thing that this young lady saw up in Maine. You guys ready? Here we go. This was in the daytime sky. We're going to finish up with this here. Waterford, Maine, Grace, 6:30 of 2025. Less than, what? Less than a week ago. Here we go. This isn't a balloon, by the way. I've zoomed in on this. I've looked for, you know, any type of cord. This is in 4K format, by the way. So this is an excellent quality video. I'm assuming this, based off of what I could see off the original, this is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 12,000 feet, right around that range. Maybe 9. It's right around 10,000 feet. But it's a vertical cylinder, white cylinder. Doesn't have anything hanging off the bottom of it, so it's not a weather balloon. It's not up there collecting data. She was very taken back by this thing, whatever it was. It wasn't making any noise, didn't have any blinking lights. It was just kind of hanging around up there. And a telltale sign of a balloon is this. A balloon is always at the mercy of the wind. There, let me pause it right there. In fact, I did slow it down. Hold on just a second. Let me go back. Okay, right there. A balloon, keep in mind, up there at 10,000 feet, it's very windy. And the higher up you go, you get into the jet stream winds. The winds can be, I've seen the jet stream winds easily at 200 miles an hour. So it's windy up there. This isn't showing any signs of being manipulated by wind. It's holding its own. It's staying vertical. If that were a balloon, it would be all over the place. It would be very discombobulated. This is not. It's holding its own. So whatever it was, it appears to have had some density. Here I inverted the format. Light is dark, dark is light. Just a very simple technique because obviously there wasn't much I could do with it. You know, we can tell it doesn't have wings, and we can tell it doesn't have a, you know, rotor or propellers or tail fins or anything like that. What in the world was going on in the skies above Maine on the 30th? It's kind of sitting there checking things out. And we've talked about this before, you know, how these orbs and things that are being seen all over the world by people. And that's the nice thing about these smartphones. Yeah, I mean, they can be a bit of a nuisance, I suppose, getting spam calls all the time now. But people can take it out and record an event like this, like Miss Grace did, and people have no choice but to believe her. If she'd have told somebody, yeah, I saw this white cylinder today setting up in the sky, they'd be like, oh, you're making this stuff up. Well, these smartphones now are giving people credibility. You know, they see things in the sky and they're not afraid to share it because they can prove it. So this is the smartphones have been helpful in that way, and I get photos and videos every day from all over the world. So once again, if you've been trying to send email, I apologize for the glitch. I have no idea what's going on. It's not the first time I've had glitches with my hosting company, and I'm not too happy with my hosting company. I'm not going to say who they are, but they could do better. Let me just put it that way. You know, the mail sometimes it gets full. I'm supposed to have unlimited mail. Why wouldn't I have unlimited mail? I want to see what you guys have to send in. But for some reason, it keeps saying, oh, your mail's getting full, your mail's getting full. And then now I can't even respond to an email, and I couldn't even delete emails to free up space. It's just a whole thing, and it's got a glitch. We're working on it. It's fixed. At least I can receive email now. As far as getting onto the website, that's a whole nother story. And it's just very time consuming. And even trying to talk to a real person sometimes in today's world is a bit challenging. It's hard to find a real person when you need customer service or technical support. So it's July 4th. I don't want the frustration today. I just want to have a relaxing, peaceful day, you know, with my family, like you guys too. And I want you guys to have fun and enjoy yourself. Check out, you know, fireworks tonight, whatever it is you guys want to do, those of you here in the States. And thanks for stopping by. It's going to be a quick live stream today. I know sometimes we'll stay on for a couple hours, but today we're going to wrap it up short. I want to thank you guys for the super chats. That's super cool. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys stopping by. Happy 4th. Beware of the megaquake. There could be multiples because Earth is primed, as I showed you guys, for the possibility of activity not only in Japan, but Hawaii, Puerto Rico as well. The situations in those locations equally as 5,000 miles apart approximately. It's the same type of scenario, almost identical. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and see. All right, guys, thanks for stopping by. Have a super day and be safe out there.